Throw it out, come right back. And that happens in interaction between these groups.
But don't you think that having the might of that thought, that force that's there, he talks about that too, would dramatically change? There wouldn't be as much of a negative polarity, because if everybody's thinking that way and everybody's being truthful, then death, you would become so self-aware that death would be a positive thing, not a negative thing.
And that's exactly how it's treated. At that point, death is treated as a gift, a transition to further learning. It is not treated as a negative, or it's not treated as something bad. This is going to be a little difficult to like wrap your head around, but for people that are listening, I had stated before that evil is a learned trait. Just because something is negatively charged doesn't mean it's bad. Okay? So the further they progress, there's a greater state of unknowing or oppositeness that also has to be known. They bring that in. It's not like saying, oh, we're doing so much positive, bad stuff's going to happen to us. No, they know so much and they're doing so much towards that positive nature. The scope of their action for when they actually go to make a single joint decision is for something absolutely massive. Nobody would make the decision to communicate with him, pick him up in a craft, have him write books, institute these things, act as Overwatch on planet Earth.
Right.
People wouldn't do things like that without great, great thought. And so now when the collective goes to make these choices in these environments, they're doing it with a much bigger timescale, because the energy that goes into it is going to there's a big equalization that has to occur, and choosing to interject in that. So for these groups, that's how those cycles work. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, no, 100% I'm seeing it. One of the things that he talks about is that this thinking process can repair the psyche.
Yeah. So Mahtaka Dankin, which means might of the thoughts, when you have recurring negative thoughts, it actually creates these grooves inside your brain. There's like a gravity well of negativity. And to unwind these things, these grooves of negativity, you're going to have to equalize the negativity with greater positivity.
Right.
And then you have to build out of that because you've built in these grooves. Now, the psyche is the development, this idea of this encompassing personality and ego and thoughts all built into one. Now, that can be tuned and driven into a direction that will protest heavily against you trying to fix it. You'll have those negative thoughts that try to creep back in, and they'll always try to do it.
Well, I think science says we have 40,000 thoughts, and 30,000 of them are negative a day, and 10,000 are positive.
So you can
the average human.
So you can see the work for an average human to unwind the grooves, because positive thoughts have power, but just as much as negative thoughts do. So that negativity has the power to create those grooves, do the construction within your psyche.
But our evolution loves negative thoughts because it protects us from the scarcity and from the survival.
It's the fear.
We pay attention when somebody says something negative.
But it's easy. And because when you're just focusing on the negative, you don't have to deal with the positive or the equalization. I just can live in the negative. The other 2/3 of your equation is missing. It's much easier to focus on 33% than 66%, right?
Yeah.
That's a smaller portion. I can live my life like that. It requires less effort. This process works on a different time scale. And it requires you to take very dedicated steps of thought to rebuild a healthy psyche for the self, to rebuild the consciousness in a format where it becomes unweakened, unshackled by the negativity and the grooves that are built into it. You see that?
Yeah, no, I get that, because having these positive thoughts is going to lead to a self-awareness, or there's a better word, a self-realization of who the self is.
And that's what you begin to see. And then once you find that realization, you can then build out of those deep grooves through the might of your thoughts that you've built up in negativity into a more positive facing one.
Yeah, and he talks about having, like the ability to take your future and create your own wishes and ideas.
Yeah, so here's what happens. I have an idea, a vision. I had one for HDL with you. I had one for Tartle with you. What has come of that? We turned it into something.
Oh, yeah.